No NDP government in Alberta. Why is that a good thing? Well, we talked to our good friend, broker owner Darren Langille right after this. Here we are, my friends. As promised, here's our favorite broker owner all the way from Calgary, Darren Langille. How are you, my man?
I'm doing really well. I woke up to great news today.
Yeah, great news. And we were just having one of the most important conversations off camera, and that's the importance of coffee. But we'll save that for another day. And yeah, you did wake up to great news. Today's May 30th, and there's something kind of important that happened on May 29th, 2023 in Alberta. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, whether you're a follower or not of like provincial politics, well, we had another election, right? So a lot of people always say, do we need them? But the reality is the United Conservative Party in Alberta was reelected. And you follow Alberta's history at all, the Conservative Party has basically dominated the last 50 years. But since 2012, there's been a wave of NDP pushing back and forth and even took control for a little while. And now the mandate was another 4 years with the Conservatives, which if you're following, again, you're listening to this for real estate news and economic news, what with conservative leadership, there's a confidence in our market that things are going to keep going. Businesses will be, having the right path. Economy will keep growing. And that's a great news story for most of like the entrepreneurs out there, people like you and I who are dealing with people in housing and big decisions. I can tell you the confidence this morning around this stuff is back in line. So.
Yeah, that's good. There's always that big relief of fresh air or that big gas. Okay. Now we can go back to doing what we were doing, right? And not to say people were overly worried, but there, like you said, when there's that lack of confidence or even just a shimmer of lack of confidence, it does some funky things to our little real estate market, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, housing is major, as we know, right? It's if you believe there's some good momentum coming or some stability for the future, you feel like you can make those housing decisions. And I think even the people that aren't politically in line with the Conservatives understand it is better for the economy, right? The NDP and even in your world, the Liberals, I mean, there's a lot of people that support a lot of those values, but they also know the undertone is not a positive economic situation, right? It's just a little bit more kind of like support for all. But under Conservatives, there is a belief that the economy is going to chug, right? They'll at least do that part right. Maybe not everything right.
Yeah. Well, and that's a big component of when you feel good about what's going on around you in a sense, you're willing to make decisions. And when there's uncertainty, we all know, and you've been there many times, I'm sure, when you have a confused seller or buyer, what does that confused seller or buyer do? Nothing. Absolutely right. Nothing, right? And that's okay. That's okay. Well, that's why people align themselves with people like you and your agents, because our job is to coach and mentor them through and help them with those conversations. So we're basically, we have one more day to the end of May, but we're talking the end of May. How's that market looking for you in the Calgary area?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked before, there's always this worry for like this shoe to drop, and it's not. If anything, it's accelerating. Like I'm looking right now, we have a thing called daily housing summary. You probably use this in your own in your own world too. And if I look at May 2022, which was, we keep talking about an incredible year, 2,853 sales last year. Sorry, 2,876. May 2023 is higher than that. So year to date in May, when we compare it to last year, which was just what we all thought was just the heyday, we're pacing ahead of that for sales. We hadn't seen that in April, hadn't seen that in March, hadn't seen that in February. It was 30% less than the unicorn year, 20% left. Now, if this works out, it's ahead of last year's sales. So the total number of homes trading hands has increased. That is, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. And how's that in correlation to the number of listings that are coming on? Is that keeping pace with the number of sales? Because what my friends that are watching this and listening to it, we need inventory to keep that chugging along before prices, get squeezed
Yeah,
and pushed up and everything else.
we are somewhere in the range of listing. If I look at it quickly, we're listing probably 80% of what we were listing last year.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
less.
Less.
The sales are higher, which means quickly it's a tighter market than it was.
Yeah.
It is taking everything in a buyer's playbook to win the offer today, right? It's getting tighter. Sales are clipping along, and then with the morning's news, you better believe a lot of the fence sitters are going to get into the market, and they're going to say, "Well, we're good now." So I expect just a very tight, very fast paced market for another quarter here, and probably all the way through the summer.
Is that right? Now you make an interesting comment. So with yesterday's news and that confidence being withheld or even fueled in a sense with the election, do you foresee more listings coming on board, or just kind of keeping pace with what you're looking at right now? I know that's
Great
that's a
question.
$1 million question, but
Well, like active listings right now, we have 3,333 as of the moment I'm recording this, right? Last year at the same time, it was 2,000 more listings, right? 2,000
that's
more.
a lot.
So you'd have to assume if we're going to see any bump, you're right, Gary, that this might create a little bit of say, you know what, we can do this. We're comfortable, and let's make this move. But I mean, that's still like we've been waiting for this all year, and we haven't seen a ton of it. But you're right. If something like this happens, there could be a bigger chance we see a mini bump.
Yeah, yeah, and to equate what's happening here in Toronto in a sense, we've been our listings have just been barely keeping up with the sales.
Mm,
And it's just in this past week, Darren, that we've just seen a little extra, just not much. Like I'm talking like little o of outpacing, like tiny o of
sure.
outpacing the listings to the number of sales, where we got down to really about 15 days on market, which for those that have been following me, I was completely wrong. I thought we'd be about 30 to 40 days, actually 35 days on market, and we went the opposite way. So egg on my face, I take that. I'm curious to see how and where that ends up in the Calgary market.
I mean, that's the fact that you say that. Like right now, our days on market for May is 24.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So we've never gotten as fast as you guys.
Right.
And if you guys are still hitting those types of days on market, and we're feeling like this is like the most incredible market we've had from a seller's perspective, we're still not as tight as that. That says something. Year to date, we're at 28,
Yeah.
right? And that's again incredibly fast. If I look at the last 7 days, we sold 694 and we listed 842, right?
Okay.
So that's somewhere in the range of an 85%
Yeah.
list to sale, a ratio. So again, it's not everything, but
Yeah.
it's most things you're selling, right?
Yeah.
So
And I know we've talked about this in the past. Is there one segment of the market that's moving faster than the other?
yeah, so when you look at that number, I'm like, oh, we're ahead of last year this month. Okay, where is it? Again, it continues to be the more affordable price points, right?
Yeah.
So apartments are grossly outselling, 35% more apartment sales this May versus last May, right? So that's making up the difference. If you took that away, we'd be underselling last year,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
If we just if apartments matched, we'd be underselling because detached, semi-detached, and even row homes are slightly still less than last year.
Yeah.
Again, interest rates and affordability, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that brings up a good question. I want to know, and I'm sure our audience wants to know who are those buyers? What's that avatar look like? Is it someone that is first time home buyer? Is it the affordability issue? Is it the investor? What's that avatar? What's that buyer look like?
Yeah, I mean the politics just shared a lot of what's going on in our market. Uh, the metro centers, right, is where people are migrating to, right?
Mm,
So when you think of people moving from Toronto and Vancouver and just outside of our country into Calgary, they're coming here, that's where you're seeing some of this NDP and more liberalist viewpoints and younger folks that tend to look at that type of value system. They're changing, right? The cities, and that's of course usually if it's new to market, first time home buyers transitioning out of their first condo. That is that younger demographic that's really driving a lot of those sales, right? So that makes sense. If when you see that there's like these orange wave taking some of our constituencies in among the conservative blue, you're seeing that right in the core,
Is that right?
right
Yeah.
in the core markets of our city.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. And if you're a seller, obviously this is an opportunity for those sellers right now, just based on, I don't want to say the lack of inventory, but when you have inventory as the levels at where they are, that is an opportunity for a seller. What are you telling your sellers right now? Are you expecting offers within the first 7 days or 14 days? How's that conversation look? What's the expectation?
Yeah, if you price fair, like into the market, not with aspirational pricing at all. That still is missing the mark. I got a call yesterday from somebody who had an active property, and they're getting nothing. It's crickets.
Mm,
And I'm doing some digging, and I'll find that it's overpriced. I'll probably find that it's say 10% over. That's enough to go crickets, silence. But when you're playing say sub 700,000 in our market, you're going to be selling first weekend, multiple offers for sure. And like we talked before, probably still some conditions, but yeah, slightly over list price, and that is the trick, right? You probably know this, Gary. With us as agents, we don't want to get in the way of our clients purchasing,
that's right.
right? Sometimes the market can go up a little quicker than us as realtors who have our clients' best interest in mind. We don't want them to overpay, right? We never want that, but sometimes the market will outpace our belief in the market. And we just have to kind of get out of the way, but advise. And that's the trick for realtors who are really having their client's best interest right now, is landing on the messaging that doesn't impede them from purchasing and making them still feel they're providing the right advice, even though the market might be moving in a place that we've never fully been to before. And that's what's happening here.
Yeah, no, that's good advice, and you're right. As a seller, I urge you to seek advice and to ask questions, because when you have people like Darren and his team and everyone else, uh, they're in the market every day, and don't listen to those three people on the mountain that have only sold a house once or twice in their life, and it was 15, 20 years ago, right? I'm sure you've come across people like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we run a pretty tight ecosystem of
There you go.
agents. I run
Glasses
a
came
group of
off. He's serious now, my friends.
I'm
Glasses came
serious.
off.
Yes. Like we've always wanted to build a culture of agents who could tap into just the variety of what's happening out there. There's no even one agent that can truly understand the pace of the market. So at least at Redline, we've always had this like 75 agent army that could pull from each other, right? Because what happens here and there and here and there, and this price point is changing. So like just yesterday, one of our amazing agents posted this like probably 2,000 word almost essay about what she learned through a recent transaction
Mm.
that could be passed along to the rest of us. I was just like, man, this was incredible. It almost gives me goosebumps, because when you're in an environment where realtors can share that and rather than guard this information for themselves, well, who wins? The clients.
Yeah.
The clients win by better advice. So if you do have an agent that's just completely on their own little island, there's a good chance they're missing part of the context of what's truly happening out there.
Yeah, that's well said. I always, for the agents, and I know agents watch our videos here, Darren. There's nothing better than getting into a small mastermind or a peer group and meet regularly. And trust me, that's why Darren and I meet like this. It's even better when it's not the same brand, and just network and collaborate together, because that's one of the most important things you could ever do. We all have the same intention, and that's to help our clients. And my client can't come to your client if we don't have a good relationship, right?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're having an event 8 days from now called Thrive Not Survive, and the whole thing is a free give back to realtors, and it's all about networking and bringing us together cross brand. That's the goal. Bring it across brand, and then to be honest, like make the other brokers out there just shake their heads to say, why am I so guarded? Like let's
Yeah.
bring this industry together, which as you know, is very important for the overall GDP and health of our nation, right? Like we're representing major things here. So
yeah, that's amazing. I know there's a lot of realtors in the Calgary area that do watch our videos, so go plug that event. I think that is important to your what you're doing there in Calgary, and it's important to everyone that's going to show up. Go, feel free, plug it away like you just did.
it's Thrive Not Survive. We're calling it Max Out because, as I've been talking with Gary, our market is flying. So again, we want to figure out together how to max out what's going on. And so I got 5 speakers, 3.5-hour event. It's free. They're always free. And just find on my Instagram. Or many of my Redline agents and a lot of the real broker agents are sharing this stuff. I think we only got about 20 tickets left, though, so you're going to have to act quick. And we've actually only just started releasing the lineup because most people just know our events for the events, and they know that they're a great experience. So
there you go.
That's it. June 7th, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. start, Mountain Standard. Maybe even worth some of your Ontario agents flying in to come meet us. Right?
I love it. A little fear of missing out, my friends. Don't miss out. And I've known Darren a long time. The events and the education that he provides, the insight is second to none in that market area, right across Canada. It's one of the reasons why we like having you on, Darren. Of course, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, Instagram's best. I've been pulled onto Facebook a bit more lately. So again, if you're on Facebook, guys like you, so I'm in my DMs a little bit more, and that's the best way. So
excellent. So there you have it, my friends, all the way from Calgary. That's Darren. I'm Gary. We'll see everybody in the next video. Goodbye for now.